How's it going, everybody? Someone recommended to me that it might be helpful to just show me goldfishing the deck. So I figured I'd give that a try. Just kind of go over some hands. Obviously, it's a little weird to goldfish without competition, so the deck's going to look better than it should be at times because you don't really have to deal with opponent's interaction. You're just going to be a little hypothetical with how everything goes. Even with mulligans, everything's kind of dependent on what the matchup is. So you can kind of look generically. This is really nice interaction hand, but doesn't actually do anything. Too many big guys. Here you have a solid ramp hand that's just totally ruined by this guy's cradle. If we top deck a regular land, it'd be great. And then this one is probably where we just keep it and accept what it is on 6. Put the Thorn Mammoth to the bottom of the deck. It's draw for turn. Seedborn Muse could be worse. So you just Mox Diamond, pitch this Beseiju, play an Elvish Mystic, throw out this Lotus Petal, and pass. Go to turn 2. Luckily you top deck a land there. Sadly a little funky with how this plays out, so you just play Kinnan, pass for turn 3. Elvish Spirit Guide's not the worst here. Lets you go for a Seedborn. You currently have 2, 4, 6, 7 mana. Fortunately, you can just win the game here if you wanted to. You can Mox Diamond for 2 blue. You want to use green mana for, yeah, you actually just need 1 green mana. So Mox Diamond for 2 blue, tap this, 1 floating, play Trophy Mage, go get Assault Monolith. You have 1 floating here, so you'll just crack the Lotus Petal, I guess, play Basalt Monolith, make Infinite Colorless, and then you can Green Suns or Thrasios. Nice, clean win there. No protection at all. Unlikely to actually get through, but always matchup dependent. Here, looking at a ring hand. Guy's Cradle again in the opener. No actual ramp, so sadly this is one we toss back. Go to second 7. Wow, really struggling to draw lands in these mulls here. This is a pretty shitty mull to 6 still, so let's see what 5 looks like. And we will accept this 5 for sure. Definitely want you, definitely want you, definitely want you, and then I guess it kind of depends. Obviously want the land. So here's where, I mean, this is really going to depend on what the matchup is. I think you keep Mind Break over Force of Negation almost no matter what. If you're in a more stack-based matchup, you would probably keep the Psych Rift. If you're against a more turbo matchup, you probably keep the Mind Break Trap. I think I'll imagine the Mind Break Trap here, so I'll move all of these to the bottom of the library, and I'll put all these back. So draw for turn, Blue Delta, Kraken for a drop. And obviously it depends on turn order and such. If the Fellwar Stone is turned on, most of the time it's turned on in CDH. There's enough gemstones and such. So you can go Mana Crypt here. You can tap that guy for a Soul Ring, float 1, tap that for a Fellwar Stone, tap those bad boys for a Kinnan. Go to turn 2. Sadly still didn't draw a land, but fortunately we get a Nezahal here, which is likely to draw us a few cards in the cycle, especially getting it down on turn 2 here. Still holding up Mind Break Trap if we needed, and the Fimage is irrelevant for now, but you never know what you might get here. I'd say we draw 2 cards in the cycle from Nezahal. Mystic Grimoire is a fantastic pickup here to keep the card advantage coming. So you can just untap here. Still don't hit a land, which is almost blasphemous. But I think here I'm not going to bother with spins. I'm just going to play Mystic Remora and pass the turn. That does also hold up a hard cast Mind Break Trap. If someone for some reason tried to counter the Remora, then I might just be a little worried about this double draw engine depending on the matchup. You are also holding up Court of Calling for 3, 6, 7. You are holding up Court of Calling for 7 here. I wonder if that's worth considering right now. Again, always very matchup dependent. Turn 3 in this situation, I mean, if people have stopped other people, that you might just throw this out for a Seedborn Muse. You could also throw this out. I guess actually, should we have thought about that before we play this fish? Yeah, so I guess that's a real line here. You could Court of Calling for, you could tap that for 3, and then you could go 4, and then that would be, so that's 3 from the Court of Calling, and then 1, 4, 7 right there. So yeah, I guess actually that's probably the line. Court of Calling for Hullbreaker Horror there, and then you have Mystic Remora to just start the chain between Mana Crypt and Fellwar Stone, and you can win the game from that position if that's realistic for you. If that doesn't look realistic there, then you can just play the fish, hold up the cord for some interaction thing that you need. Maybe you go for Seedborn there, maybe you don't. I think if you feel free enough to go for Seedborn there, then it's probably better to go for Hullbreaker Horror. If you really think people are holding up interaction and you don't want to blow this, then I think you take a turn cycle, you probably draw a few more cards here, and then you see where it goes. Here, we'll assume the Gemstones is turned on, and I mean, turn 1 Manglehorn is always a little bonkers, so I think we definitely keep that here. Yeah, so we'll do Glittering Caves of Agahand, or however that is pronounced. And in this one, definitely not getting rid of the Hullbreaker because I already have the Soul Ring, so we're already partway to that combo, which feels really, really good. We're going to be able to hold up an extra mana, so I think we just pitched the Force in this situation. And then we get to draw for turn, Glenelendra Shore. We're just going to play Rejuvenating Springs, play a Soul Ring, and play a turn 1 Manglehorn, which is really good for slowing people down. Feels always super nice. Untap here, Metamorph, not the best, sadly. If someone has an Arcane Signet or something of the sort, I would really prefer a colored rock here, given the situation. So if someone has a colored mana source, then I would probably go Kinnan into Metamorph off the Soul Ring, pay 2 life, and that'll turn into an Arcane Signet of Fellwar Stone. A Talisman, so if it produces blue, is really all you care about, because then you're at least holding up this offer, which feels really good to have. So we'll imagine that this is a Talisman of Fellwar Stone, something of the sorts for right now. Go to turn 3 here. Springleaf Drum is a pretty nice pickup. Can we win? We cannot win, but we can do cool things. If there's a Dockside, we can actually win, I believe, because this is 5, 6, 7. We're still a little short anyway. So from here, I think you're going to go just the interaction roll. These both tap for blue, which is super nice. So you'll just tap this for 5, 1 extra, who cares? You're going to end up doing that as Glenelendra and Springleaf Drum. So it actually wasn't 1 Endra, because then you're holding up 2 Glenelendra activations. You're also holding a counterspell in hand. So super nice. All of those are alive here. You're in a very good control-based shell at the moment. So you're probably going to make this to turn 4. Depending on if you use the offer or not, is how much do your opponents need the treasures. Preferably, I like to use the counters from hand before I use Glenelendra, just because Glenelendra is essentially uncounterable. She's really difficult for people to deal with. Sure, they can throw removal spells at her, but she is more valuable per activation than an offer you can't refuse it. So if I had to do something in the cycle, I'm using an offer first. Then I would untap. Homeward Path, fine. Now we are at a position here that we can hold up Hullbreaker for the turn, just continue the control vibe, but then we also get a spin at some point in the cycle, or Hullbreaker if we need to, I don't know, block or something. But you can go 3, 5. We would just tap this, tap down Kinnan, that's 7. That'll get you 1 spin at some point in the cycle. Nyx Bloom is a wonderful pickup that pretty much will mean we can win, but not actually guaranteed. It'll just make it a lot easier. You'll see in a sec. So you tap those down, and then still holding up the Glenelendras and stuff, which is nice. You will untap on your next turn. Island is fine, I guess. Was really hoping for a rock there, but it's okay. More mana is always appreciated as well. So total mana here, this is 12 mana, this is another 7 mana, so that's 22, and then this is 4, so that's 26 mana. And you can go pretty close to infinite here, so what you would end up doing, I think, is you tap Soul Ring for 7 colorless, just to show on the mana thing here. And then you'll tap Springleaf Drum, I don't know, tap Kinnan. Yeah, it's fine, tap Kinnan, make 4 blue. And then you're going to... Oh, you don't have another spell you can cast, actually, so you can't Hullbreaker here. I don't know why I was thinking we could. So, yeah, I think we're just spinning first. So you can just go 4... Yes, we'll just do that. 7 colorless, 4 blue, and 3 more green. I'm imagining this taps for both our blue and green. So that's 2 spins worth of activations right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Take up Birds of Paradise. More mana never hurts. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. More mana never hurts. Still in a good control shell. I mean, at this point, it's going to get difficult. We're still holding up Hullbreaker mana. We're still holding up multiple Glenelendra activations. We're definitely going to be a target for interaction, though, at this point. So you're probably going to need to spend at least 1 Glenelendra here just to keep yourself intact. And then at this point, I think on the end step, I think I saved the Hullbreaker Horror. I think I just throw out more spins. So that right here is 4 and then 3. So that gives you one final spin, which is nice. But I guess that doesn't hold up the Glenalundra, so it's a tough call. It's a tough call. If you think you need to hold up the Glenalundra here, then I think you just be safe and you just go to your next turn. Draw a card. Mental Misstep is a super disappointing one. Luckily, we hit a bunch more mana, so, I mean, just Soul Ring and Bloom Tender right there is 2 activations. Makes it super easy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Honestly, Phantasmal Images as a Nyx Bloom here is pretty bonkers. Depending on the board state, obviously you could turn it into a Dockside, you could turn it into a Glenalundra if you want to continue control, but I think turning it into Nyx Bloom, making every single thing tap for 9 times as much, is really, really powerful. So here, then, you can just tap your Island and Rejuvenating Springs. That's going to produce 18 mana, and then Homeward Path will get you to 21 there, so that's 3 more activations. That was on the first activation, though, of the last one, so hold up real quick. We got another one to go. We definitely take a Spellskite there. That's such a perfect piece to hit. Just protect what we're doing, and now we'll do what I said, where you can hit 3 more activations off of this. That'll be a whiff. Amazing. Seaboard Muse, that's pretty much a win from this position. And then 1 more. And now we will absolutely never be tapping down. It's 5 lands, whatever. So yeah, that was pretty fantastic. You can do 1 more spin here. You even have extra mana to hold it beyond, but I just don't think it's worth it. Actually, no, because you also have this one. Okay, yeah, you have 4 pieces of mana here because this is a talisman. Let's get our mana in a more consistent place. So from here, yeah, I guess you tap 1 cave, you tap your Birds of Paradise, you make 1 more spin out of it. Oh, wait, no. These produce 9 times as much. I'm incorrect. So, yeah, that produces 9 times as much. So that's 18 mana. So, yeah, we get another 2 spins out of that. So, Tidespout Tyrant. And then 1 more. Elvish Mystic. I mean, this is disgusting. If we ever get to counter anything, it's gross. Luckily, we get to untap in our next one's upkeep, and I mean, they're going to be feeling absolutely miserable. This is the only one that isn't live. All our lands are live. So here, I mean, total mana we have right now, you're talking, this produces 9 times as much, so that's 18 mana, 19 mana by itself. This is also 19 mana by itself, that's 38. Each of these guys produces 10, so that's 68 mana. And then this is another 36, so you're looking at 104 mana. It's pretty good. 104 mana, super likely to get you there. I mean, from this position, you're really looking for Thrasios more than anything. Phyrexian Metamorph to make another Nyx Bloom is kind of hilarious. And then beyond that, you're looking for protection pieces or stuff like Void Winnower just to continue to shut people down. So yeah, like there. I don't think we need to continue this one. You get the gist. You win this game, if you get to that point. Here, turn 1 Bloom Tender can be very powerful. If I'm against a more turbo matchup here, I keep this. Force of Will, beautiful thing to have. Glittering Caves, toss the Emergent Zone early. You know, you don't really need it right then. And then you draw for turn. I will always do the off-color fetch land first, just in case you get to a point of needing, you know, access to either one later. So you go for Tropical Island. And then you're just going to cast a Bloom Tender here on turn 1. Turn 2, Chimera. Amazing. Play this guy. Go get a Breeding Pool. I think since I'm imagining a bit more of a turbo matchup here because I kept just like the Bloom Tender Force, I'm pretty interested in a Chimera. That's like a pretty wonderful piece to have. So we're just going to play Kinnan here. Sadly, this is only 4 mana, not 5. It would be really wonderful if we could play the Chimera here. I mean, the first 2 turns of the game are what you're prioritizing when you're against a Turbo Shell. Strong likelihood you have to use the Force of Will here, so we are going to use that, imagining we stop something out of the Turbo variant, and then we hopefully get to our 3rd turn, get a City of Brass, and I mean, hard slam a Perplexing Chimera and just trust in its ability to slow the game down. This is not a great hand. Didn't really draw well. Was hoping for a little bit more proactivity or interaction. This is much more of a non-turbo matchup type thing, but if the Chimera does slow the game down into the mid-game and someone else lands, you know, another Stacks piece or 2, this is something that can really clean it up for us later. So we're just hoping this gets us back to our next turn. Untap. Love to see an Arcane Signet here. Tap Bloom Tender for 3, use 2 of it on Arcane Signet, 1 left over, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just a main phase spin. I don't think Thorn Mammoth does enough. You're looking for something exactly like Consecrated Sphinx. That is the definition of perfect. That might even be beyond Seedborn, just pick number 1 right now. So we don't untap. We're still tapped out for the cycle. We have Chimera to help us out, and we're just pretty much going to draw 6 cards. See if it gets back to us. I mean, those are good draws. Sadly, Hullbreaker, we have no pieces to combo yet, but Gaia's Cradle, obviously a huge mana boost here, and this will help us get even more in the game and card draw. So now we're going to untap for our turn. Gaia's Cradle is obviously going to be the land of choice here. Already taps for 4. We do have 1 rock. Would have been super nice if we could hit 1 more. Also, I guess, depending what's on the board, Mirage Mirror wouldn't work here for any real reason. So yeah, I think you're just going to. We're not playing any of these creatures. I don't think we play the Thorn Mammoth here. Honestly, we might just be holding up interaction, mostly, and just forego spins for a little while. So I think we just tap the Breeding Pool, play a Mystic Remora, and then we have 3 mana, 5 mana. This taps for 4, 9 mana, 10, 11. We have 12 mana. You could actually play a Mirage Mirror, there's a world, and you can turn it into extra Consecrated Sphinxes. But I think Consecrated Sphinx is enough. We have 1 counterspell in hand. We have spins left up. I think this is a good place to be. So our opponent's turn, we'll draw 2, maybe draw 1 from the fish, and then say okay. And then we go to the following turn, we'll draw 2, maybe draw 1 more from the fish. Now we're feeling really, really good that we have a counterspell as well. And then the following one, we'll draw 2, maybe have to use a counter or something at some point. Really nice thing here, though, is if you think you're going to be in a counter war, a really nice move is just tap this guy for 4, 5, 6, and 7. Play out a Hullbreaker Horror, and then if you get into a counter war, you win. So hopefully you can parlay this to get back to your turn, and then obviously, I mean, if you untap here, you don't care about this. I mean, at this point, you have multiple lines. You can just Soul Ring into Basalt, into Moonsilver for Treasure Vault is totally valid, or you can also just Soul Ring Arcane Signet, go Infinite. They try and deal with Hullbreaker Horror. You have Tidespout backup. You also have Mirage Mirror. This is, you win in a lot of ways right now, but this is, I mean, getting to turn 6 is a little ridiculous at times, but we can do that. Chimera is one of the pieces that can definitely get us there. This is slow. This is really, really slow. I don't think I would keep this. This is acceptable, but unspectacular would probably be the way to put it. I really hope I draw a blue mana source here, and then I can get rid of the Ancient Tomb to the Mox Diamond and keep the Cradle, because we are going to have multiple creatures in play because we have the Dork Hand. That would be my preferred line. If not, it's a question of which one we pitch. Draw, Pack Negation. Okay, so Cradle or Ancient Tomb. Nothing in this hand requires colorless mana, and I don't think the colorless mana is going to do anything for us. So I think I'm going to Mox Diamond, pitching the Ancient Tomb, play a Llanowar Elves, play a Gaia's Cradle as land for turn, and we have 1 green left up. Doesn't really matter. We're going to turn 2 here. Sadly didn't hit what we needed. That's okay though. You're just going to tap for 2, play Kinnan, tap this for 2 for a Scrap Gorger, and then play a Mox Amber. So you are still holding up Swan Song and Force of Negation, and I guess technically Pact, but you would use this before Pact. It would have to be a Grand Abolisher or something similar you need to counter. You're not likely to want to use a Pact here because that does waste a lot of your turn. But this is not a bad setup. Triple Counterspell, good mana production. This is totally reasonable to me. Get to turn 3, beautiful pickup. Obviously matchup dependent here, but probably just hard slamming a Chimera. Really nice that the Cradle taps for 3 here, because then it's just boom boom, perplexing Chimera. And then same situation. I mean, you're holding up 2 free counterspells if you need to, and a Kinnan's, no, not a Kinnan activation. This is only 6 mana. So you're just holding up free counter magic. You have a Chimera now. That feels super, super good to do. I actually wonder if that is the situation, we would be able to hold up that if we did it this way. There's nothing else that gets us to a multiple of 5. So like the problem is you could go 2, 5, 2, 4, 6. I guess you would leave up Scrap Forger most of the time. So you go 6 here, you have 1 floating, you can play Chimera. And then this taps for 4 with 1 left, so 5. So then you could have a Kinnan activation. Then you're essentially saying fuck the Swan Song, and you're saying that's going to be used to force negation if needed. Maybe that's a higher upside line. It's kind of close. It's pretty close. You can kind of do it either way here. I tend to not be too aggressive, but I mean, having the Cradle, hitting more creatures is always good, even if it's just an Elvish Spirit Guide. And you are still, holding up 2 pieces of counter magic, but then you are likely pitching the Swan Song to the Force Negation if you have to use it, and then praying that you don't have to also use your Pact, which we're on the 3rd turn. The good thing is it's kind of safe to assume we don't have to, because there is a Chimera, so it's really unlikely that someone throws out a Grand Abolisher effect into a Chimera, because this works through it. So we're hoping we make it back to turn 4 here. Emergent Zone, always a fine pickup to have, feels really good. We do a pretty solid mana production at this point. I mean, this is tapping for 5. And then you can just do Mox, Amber, 6/7, throw out a quick Kinnan activation. Yeah, more Manglehorn type effects. Oh, Seaborn, beautiful. Yeah, sadly, Glenelendra sad to see go. That's a pretty perfect control piece here, but Seaborn, the upside is too great to deny. So we're just going to be untapping here. And then right now this taps for 6 all by itself. I think we still just say fuck that extra mana. Go again. 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, beautiful. You take a Void Winnower almost every time here. That's the first opponent's turn. You're going to end up just kind of doing the same thing every time. So second opponent's turn, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is an interesting spot. Hitting the Thrasios is super, super nice. Obviously, that can give you a card draw mode if you feel stable enough from a control standpoint. I mean, you have the Pact of Negation and the Chimera. You can also use the Metamorph to make a second Void Winnower, a second Chimera, or a second Seaborn Muse. All are super valid lines. Given the Void Winnower and the Chimera, I think the most likely is to take Thrasios. I know some people don't like to put out Thrasios before the win line. I'm really comfortable with it. I feel super good, especially now that we have the One Ring as well. Lots of ways to tutor for that. I feel really good about winning the game, especially when we're going to be spinning and hitting lots of creatures that can, get us to Consphinxes and Nezahals and all that kind of stuff. I feel good about the position, even if we don't have Thrasios, and even just Natty drawing into Finale Devastation and all that. So we take Thrasios here, and that's pretty nice because now we can just go. So this is actually 2, 4, 6, 7. So we can throw out one more Kinnan. Oh, actually, we had leftover mana from this Cradle because it tapped for 7, so we had 9 here. So we have 2 mana left over right now. I think that maybe spins are a higher upside. I think if we were saying that we felt comfortable enough to take the Thrasios here, then we're going to throw out one more spin first. So I think I would go 2, 4, 6, and 7. Just throw out one more spin. And I mean, taking a Hullbreaker Horror feels pretty spectacular there. Sadly, we don't have... Oh, actually, no. Mox, Amber, and Llanowar Elves do work totally fine. So we already have a kill with that on board. So now, if we get back to our turn, we have the kill. So untapping on our opponent's turns is going to be purely Thrasios activation. So now that we hit the Hullbreaker Horror, we're super happy we took Thrasios. This by itself is tapping for 9 mana, so that's 2 Thrasios activations. Flooded Strand, put it to the bottom. Draw a Rhystic Study, second activation, Mystical Tutor. We will just keep that. It's pretty easy peasy. And then, yeah, before end step here, oh, this was 9, so we had one more mana left up. So we might as well just do it now, I guess. Mox Diamond for the blue, or Mox Amber first, usually. Mystical Tutor. Go get ourselves a Force of Will. Goes and shuffle, put that on top, and you had one green floating here, and then you had a blue floating here, so now you just need to put 2 more into it to draw that guy right there. And then you can do it even one more time. So you see Mindbreak Trap, and you'll say, sure, I'll keep that. It's a counterspell. We're going to have plenty of mana. That's not really going to be a concern. You go to your last opponent's turn. You tap the Guy's Cradle for still 9 mana. For Thrasios activation here, you put that guy onto the bottom. You're going to draw an Invasion, do it again, see a Trophy Mage. Not the worst here, wins in another way. Given someone could just like Besage you the Mox Amber and we're screwed, I actually think I'd take the Trophy Mage here. That seems good enough as like a really nice backup line that totally saves our butt if we can't get something else going. So I like that. Still have 1 extra mana floating. Might as well just 1 and 3, throw out 1 more. Oh, which actually, I'm stupid. We have Emergent Zone. Sorry for anyone who's been yelling about that. Yeah, you can just win at instant speed here. You would just crack Emergent Zone. I don't know. You could play the Trophy Mage, I guess. So you have 1. I did it twice, so I guess that's my bad. So you had 1 floating mana. You can use that to crack Emergent Zone, and then, I mean, you just have 6 mana here, so you can go for Basalt, and you're holding up Force of Will and Pact of Negation. That seems pretty easy peasy. So that's 6 mana, 3 of it into Trophy Mage, 3 of it into Basalt. You have Thrasios, you have 2 counters that you can play, and if you actually get into a war where it gets to this point, maybe you even get to turn on the Mindbreak. Also, Hullbreaker Horror backs up every single thing you do, and Void Winnower makes it hard for them, and if you get into a counter war, the Perplexing Chimera is going to wreck their shit. So, win instant speed there, Emergent Zone actually mattered. Sorry for forgetting about it. This hand, another really, really great ramp hand, not a good control hand at all. This is really a hand that's just pushing into Kinnan activations. It's not a bad thing to happen. Ramp hands are great. it's more so a question of what's the matchup. If you're against a turbo variant, decks that you think are going to win quickly, you really want to have the interaction for them. If you are against decks that you don't think are winning before turn 3 or even likely to win by turn 3, then, I mean, this is great. You're probably getting out a lot of mana and maybe even Seedborn by turn 2. Let me look at it. Yeah, I mean, this is gross. So you draw for turn here. I do think you want to go the birds turn 1. Though the Mox... Oh, you can do it this way, though. Okay, so you go Tropical Island, Mox Diamond pitching Yavimaya, play Kinnan, play Mox Amber, tap that for Birds of Paradise. And, I mean, that's just keeping it on easy mode there a little bit. You still have one floating, too. These were tapped for Kinnan. So you could Worldly Tutor right now. I don't know if there's any real advantage in that besides just giving everyone the full heads up on what's going on. So, I mean, it depends. If you just view it as they can't stop you and you kept this hand because you don't think they could stop you, if you want to be efficient, use the mana now. There's nothing against it. I mean, if you wait till it gets back to your upkeep and you use it, it doesn't change anything. You're still getting Seedborn. I guess the difference is you wouldn't be able to spin into Seedborn. So, as it is now, you can uncounterable into Seedborn, but you also kind of want to cast it normally because you get to use Grim Monolith, and that's just going to keep up so much more mana. So if you do top deck into a Consecrated Sphinx or an Nezahal or something that draws you cards, it means you're going to have a lot more mana for interaction in addition to spins. Those are all high upside, plays. I'm not sure which one is best. It always depends on the matchup, and we're just in a vacuum here. I'm going to imagine we went back to our turn and didn't tell them what was up. So we untap here. We Worldly Tutor on upkeep. Go get Seedborn Muse. Put it on top of our library. We draw it for turn, and then we're going to go 2 mana for a Grim Monolith, and then some mana for a Seedborn Muse, and then we're going to get to our first opponent's turn here. Total mana we have is 4, 8, 10, 11. So I would probably do it this way to start. Maybe Amber over Birds. And then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I mean, there it is, Consecrated Sphinx. I understand that Hullbreaker Horror wins here. Like, I totally get that, but this is completely unprotected, and people are going to be gunning for you with everything they have. I actually think taking the Consecrated Sphinx is the safer play right here. Always matchup dependent. If you think you're totally open to go for it, take the Hullbreaker Horror. You are super likely to win the game, but I think Consecrated Sphinx is just a safer call, and that means that on the next upkeep, we are going to get to draw 2 cards and see if we want to wait. Our only interaction is Beseiju, which we can hold up even after the spin, so we spin on upkeep here. So we get another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, Spellskite and Metamorph, both fantastic. Really, really tough call. I mean, the protection of Spellskite is amazing right now. We're really likely to use the Seedborn or the Sphinx. It's a tough call for your opponents which one they go for in this position. Metamorphing one of them feels great. If you were to metamorph one of them, you're going for double Sphinx just to not care if your Sphinx gets, or if your Seedborn gets killed, because you'll draw so much. I think there's more value in the spins as well, so I think I go for the generic protection of Spellskite most of the time. So we keep that there, and then again we can still Besage something if we have to. We have one more turn before our upkeep, if I'm not mistaken, where we will just do the same thing. Get out one more spin here. Oh, I'm sorry. We draw first, though. So we would have drawn these 2. And then we would throw out a spin. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Phantasmal Image. It's kind of funny. There's almost an argument to the Bloom Tender to try and get more spins here. It's a tough call. I think we're holding up 1 spin a turn. We're going to have some decent mana. We're obviously, evidently not winning on our turn. And also, sometimes you don't want to tap the Grim. Actually, yeah, that's correct. So, our only interaction is Beseiju. We have the Spellskite. I think we would leave the Grim Monolith untapped, and we actually would have tapped it this way, and that's 7. Sorry, that's how we would have done this activation. Save the Grim Monolith, because it won't untap on our regular upkeep. Seedborn only works on your opponent's upkeeps. And then this is a really interesting thing. Another clone effect in a row, or just more mana with Bloom Tender. I feel like there's a real argument for more mana here. Getting to 2 spins a turn is pretty fantastic. We're still in the first 2 turns of the game. I mean, if anything's going to die from removal, it's Phantasmal Image. That gets through the Spellskite. I would rather... If it was the Metamorph here, I think I would take the Metamorph over the Bloom Tender, but I think given it's the Fimage, I will take the Bloom Tender for some mana. and then we will untap on our turn 3. Feeling pretty good about ourselves. You get to Misty into a breeding pool. Okay, and then you've got 4, 8, 10, 13, 14. So you can do double spin here. You actually have 1 extra mana as well. I think what I end up doing here is I tap 4, I play a Karn the Great Creator, help shut down my opponent's mana, make it even harder for them to possibly catch up to me or do anything. Really likely that this eats a Force of Will here, especially with people focused on you. It's unlikely they're using interaction on each other, but I think it's totally reasonable to throw this out as a bait. If it lands, amazing. Really high percentage chance it gets countered, sadly. And then from there, you can go 3, 5, and 7, throw out another spin. And Void Winnower. Not a lot of things we're happier to see there. I think you guys kind of get the gist. Like, this is just going to be a grinded out game. We're going to draw a bunch of cards. We're going to get a bunch of activations. Sadly, it didn't look like we were going to hit a ton of counter magic. But we were going to hit March of Swirlingness, so luckily we have some board wipe protection there. If we get board wiped, it sucks, but just depends. That's kind of the risk with the all mana, go and gun it for seedboard hands. If you get your board wipe, you're probably out of the game. This hand is also mid. It's not a crazy ramp hand. It's not crazy interactive. It's kind of just bad, actually. Wouldn't keep that. Wrong color land, and I don't like double door cans. They tend to be a trap. This one, it's a trap, but it's a trap that you're probably gonna fall for. I mean, you're gonna go for it. We do get a draw for turn. Scrappy. Some tropical island here. Play the Llanowar Elves. Go to turn 2. Mox Opal doesn't feel too bad either. Maybe lets you hold up an extra counter spell, which is nice. So you're just gonna Kinnan into Armored Scrapgorger. I don't give a fuck about the Seaborn. If I have to endurance someone, I will get rid of the Seaborn here. You are going for the win. Play the Mox Opal. Doesn't do anything. I mean, I don't know. I don't like risk 6 studies and stuff. Like, just get out of the hand. And there's a chance you might need the mana for something later. Again, if you feel like a Dockside's coming, maybe don't. But we're Goldfishing, so we'll throw it out. And this was for that. And that's kind of just, right? Yeah, because we only had 4 mana here. Okay. Oh, wait a second. This was turn 2. I tapped these for Kinnan. I tapped that. Okay, cool. Untap. Didn't draw a land again. But yeah, I mean, you don't have protection at all. But you kept this hand to just shoot your shot on turn 3, and that's kind of the gist of it. So you're just going to shoot your shot. You get Basalt. If it lands, you get Mirage Mirror. If Basalt gets countered, then you're a sad boy. And you probably just play Mirage Mirror as a value piece and they say, see, we had to have killed it. It's whatever. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. Keep that hand and just go for it. This, love seeing the One Ring here. That's like so amazing. If we can get a free Mana Rock, a Soul Ring, that's just going to turn this hand into overdrive. But this is a very good generic keep. Just having this card advantage piece to go with the ramp and is really, really nice. It can be a little slow. So again, this is a very bad hand against a turbo variant. A very good hand in a more mid-range matchup. If you are looking at a table against, an all blue pod, something that you expect interaction to be used, just keeping mana and card advantage is spectacular. That's what you love to see. So Command Tower, Llanowar Elves, go to turn 2. Play this Yavimaya Coast, tap 2 for Kinnan. Yeah, you might see I played this over the island here. I don't give a fuck about losing 1 life. I just would rather have all of my colors be as good as possible all the time. Tap that for the Talisman, which we're going to assume the Felwar makes our colors here. And you're not holding up any interaction. And everyone's like, oh my god, you produce so much mana. And you're like, yeah, we'll see what happens. Untap. Busted. Play an island, and we have some options at this time. From here, completely unprotected. I mean, we kept this hand imagining a mid-range pod, so the likelihood that Basalt gets through here is pretty low with how many spins it would give us. There's no politicking out of that. I mean, this is you tap 3 for it, and then you're rocking 3 Kinnan spins immediately. Unlikely to land. But you can throw out the bait first here, which is fortunate. So I think you just tap 4 and you slam the One Ring. And if the One Ring makes it, I think I throw up Assault. If the One Ring doesn't make it, I also think I throw up Assault. So I think you're kind of using the Wandering Ear here. If it lands, beautiful. You have protection. You draw a card. Pack negation. Feel even better about throwing up Assault. So yeah, you would just tap 3. I think play Assault here, and I mean you're not doing anything else. Like this is the upside move. Roll the dice. And honestly, Spellskite, like one of the best things you could possibly see here. Especially you're imagining just interaction heavy. You want to survive your turn again. That's your protection piece. Make it hard for them to deal with you. It's a really good hit. And then you untap. Before your draw step, you're going to tap the ring again and draw 2 cards. Didn't hit a Worldly or Mystical Tutor, so that's fine. So you're just going to draw for turn per use. Seagate Restoration, you are also pretty happy to see. So yeah, I'm just going to tap Assault here and produce infinite colorless mana. And then we're going to go Felwar and Island, and I'm going to cast a Seagate Restoration. I understand that loses a Kinnan activation. I do not care. That's pretty amazing. So if that lands, we're going to draw 6 cards. But realistically, someone is going to try and counter this. Let's say they got one in the cycle, and we're 100% going to pack negation that counter, and then we'll draw 5 cards. 4, 5, and what do you know? You hit the Fabricate, so you win the game. This hand, way too many lands. This hand, not good mana. Go to 6 here, we'll imagine. Another hand that kind of just wins, but it doesn't have the stuff that gets to the win. It's pretty bad. I remember if we're on 6 and 5, I'm just going to say this is 6, and now... I mean, if this is 5, we snap keep this. I mean, 2 lands, Talisman, Force Mindbreak. On 6, is there any Worldly? It's so slow on 6, it just doesn't do anything. I would go to 5. And this is our 5, like it or not. So you keep 2 lands, Armored Scrap Gorger, Crop Rot Resculpt. I don't think you want the Treasure Vault. What are you crop rotting into? Gaia's Cradle, maybe? Probably higher upside. Yeah, I think it's better than Treasure Vault here. Put these all to the bottom of your library. Put these guys into your hand. Draw for turn 1. Sure. Fetch first. We don't want more lands. Get your breeding pool, which everyone will always say, why not chop? And you're just like, I saw it first. Who cares? Go to turn 2. Going to play that chop and use tap 2. Throw out the Scrappy here. Obviously, we're in terrible shape, but it's just our reality, and we're hoping for the best. We mull to 5. Who cares? Tap that for Kinnan right there. And then... I mean, you can hold up the Resculpt. Depends on the matchup. If you're against a deck where you think you need to hold up the Resculpt, hold up the Resculpt and you play it safe. Feels really bad to play it safe on 5, but, you know, sometimes it's the reality to play it safe on 5. You could contrarily, or conversely, tap that for 2 green, use one of these to crack this to get Gaia's Cradle, which then produces 2, so then you have 3. So you get 1 extra dork in play with the Court of Calling. That doesn't seem worth it to me. I think we're going to save that for like a Seedborn next turn or some way to possibly get back in the game. But I think I hold up the Resculpt here. I tend to be responsible. So go to turn, why does it say turn 4? This should be turn 3. Alright, well this is incorrect. Awkward enough, we run out of fetchables here, which is a super unlikely thing to happen. So we just play our island out. And yeah, I think we gotta just go for it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's kind of where we're at. So that's gonna tap for 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and we are going to Court of Calling for a Seedborn Muse. Great if it lands, totally understandable if it doesn't. Really strong likelihood that doesn't make it. Again, it is turn 3, not turn 4. So we're a little earlier in the game than it might appear. And now, on upkeep, there's always a real argument for crop rotting for Gaia's Cradle here, that we can also do that at end steps. We can just go 4, 6, 7. Actually, I would leave up the Scrap Gorger. I would tap these first. And get 1 spin here. Sadly, that's a whiff of cards that wouldn't be bad to draw. I don't see any advantage in getting the Gaia's Cradle yet. Actually, it's also nice that we can save it for next turn and we get rid of the Scalding Tarn. We're going to kind of do the same thing for the next 2 opponents' turns. We'll see if we need to change how we're tapping. Sadly, a whiff again. And then third opponent's turns just wasn't our game, wasn't meant to be. We get a Glenelyn Grip, which is, I mean, pretty fantastic to have that, especially with double activation immediately up. And then I guess, yeah, we'll wait to sack the Scalding Tarn here. So we untap on our, now it is our turn 4, so we'll just draw a card here. Wooded Foothills we can use, but I think here, this is literally useless. So I'll tap this, play a Breeding Pool, sacrifice the Scalding Tarn to crop rotation, go get Gaia's Cradle. And obviously, always an argument for holding it up for Treasure Vault if we get Basalt or Basalt Tutor, but I think the mana production here is going to be a little better. The other argument is also not shuffling because we had a bunch of whiffs, but it was only 2 whiffs. It wasn't like a crazy high number that's really going to adjust the percentages too much. So yeah, now you get to go, which this actually would have been tapped going into our turn. So here we go 4, 6, 7. 1 Glenelyn activation held up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a little more what I'm talking about. Sadly, we don't have another rock to go with Tide Spout, and we're definitely in slowdown control mode if we got to this point. So we take the Void when we're untap on the next opponent's turn. Definitely going to be holding up Glenelender and Resculpt at all costs here if we can. So this currently taps for 5, 6, 7. Seems like the easy way to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Love to see a Wandering Archaic. Just more slowdown protection. We're just trying to buy time and get to a really powerful win here is the goal. If you don't think anyone has anything, you could throw out one more spin here. I personally think I'm more likely to hold up the Glenelyn activation, so I'm not going to do an extra spin. But now on the following next person's cycle, we're just going to be able to tap like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once again, Basalt to the bottom. Always had to see it. And then last opponent's thing. Well, I guess here you could hold up 1 Glenelender activation. Okay, yeah, I would take that risk. So we go 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We get a Manglehorn, slightly rewarded. And now we get to our last opponent's turn. Guy's Cradle taps for so much mana. Literally tapping for 7 by itself. So we can just go 8, 1 floating here, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's a whiff. Is there any reason to push it? We have 1 floating. I guess it doesn't really matter. We don't have cards in hand that we're going to need to cast in our turn. So that's 5 mana, 6, 7. That holds up both Glenelendras. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Honestly, nothing against that. Clean up the board. You're really in a position of just buying time. So you're going to tap on your turn, everything besides the Grim Monolith and draw. Emergent Zone I'm actually really happy to see here. Definitely you can sneak a win out potentially, which is super nice. Yeah, also nice here that if you activate Glenelender, you can do that just to get a Thorn Mammoth activation. Feels pretty good. So you want to tap on your opponent's turn. Tap this guy for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana here. 1 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Consecrated Sphinx. I mean, now you're in a position that you're going to win the game. You still get an easy 4. Yeah, probably. You want to hold up 2 Glenelender activations, so you would just do it as that. And you still have 2 Glens. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nothing there. Untap on the next opponent's turn. Now it starts to get pretty easy. Draw 2 cards in their upkeep, and then you really have everything. You can kind of wait till end step here. You have Resculpt Marchers running with Glenelender you want to hold up. I don't think there's any advantage to spinning too early right now. There's not a lot of more stacks effects you can get that are really great, having the Glen and the Void Winnower. You can also wait if they, try and cast a targeted removal spell that gets around, if they're trying to abrupt decay your Kinnan per se, sure, you can spin for Spellskite here. I would totally do. And that would be 3, 6, 7, 9 here. I think you might as well just go, that's 4 to 13, and then you can tap Scrap Forger for the double blue. Get to 2 spins here to try and look for something like a Spellskite. Or honestly here, you could have Metamorph come into play as a copy of Kinnan and sack the original Kinnan if they were going to abrupt decay him here. Because then you're still good to go. Who cares if it's your commander? It literally just changes exactly Fierce Guardianship, and you still have an additional spin you can do, and you get a Chimera. So now, you're in a very safe position. You're going to win this game. This hand, do you like Springleaf Drum and such? This is it's a mana hand. It's an all mana hand. Doesn't even have a creature tutor. No game plan. This is just gunning for spins, and sometimes these hand work. Again, any sort of fast matchup, you never keep this, but it's fun to goldfish, so we'll do it one time. We don't want any more Lanzos, so we're totally cracking this for breeding pool. Breeding pool is in my hand. I am done. You crack that for a... Well, actually, you do it this way. Close and shuffle. You do this one first. And you just get... I guess actually it doesn't matter. You have you have like all your fetches in here. Get your forest first, I guess. Close and shuffle. Mana Crypt. Tap that bad boy for a Springleaf Drum and pass the turn. You will untap. If you're going to draw something... That's one of the best ones it could be. So you just Kinnan, Seedborn, that was incredibly lucky. And then you'll get 3 spins in the cycle. We'll just see what they are, and then we'll move on to the next game. It's a little more realistic. I probably want cards here. I think I take Nez. It's tough. Always matchup dependent. It's like this is good against faster matchups, and if you kept this hand, you're not against a faster matchup. Second one, Nyx Bloom. The best thing to hit after a Seedborn. Seedborn and Nyx Bloom is like my favorite 1-2 punch. So now we have to care for a second and do a tiny bit of math. Last one, 7, 14. You get 2 spins. Wow, we drew so well here. We drew so well here. Yeah, I mean, we're spinning with Nyx Bloom at this point. I don't even care about the cards. I just want to shut down our opponent's ability to stop what we're doing. I take Void Winnower. On an arcade. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is fucking perfection right here. So that's what we get in that turn cycle. And then we get to go to our turn 3. Even a finale. Amazing. Yeah, we just finale for... Oh, you know what you do here? Or wait, do you not have the mana for that? Yeah, you don't have another spell you can cast. Oh wait, no. Yeah, but you don't have another spell you can cast. That's super funny. I guess let's say we drew like a card off Nezahal here. It's pretty funny. If we drew 1 card off Nezahal in the cycle, we get a Tidespot Tyrant. Can we win from that position? This makes 7 mana. So we have 14 mana. We have 17 mana. This would cost 9. Yeah, so we can... Okay, so yeah, if we have 17 mana, we can use 9 of it on Finale Devastation. Go get Hullbreaker Horror. And then we use the remaining 8 mana, which we make sure to leave 3 of it as blue, and we play Tidespot Tyrant, trigger Hullbreaker Horror, get back Mana Crypt. And then we're just going to bounce Mana Crypt and Springleaf Drum back and forth. We're going to bounce every permanent our opponents have in play at this point. We're going to make infinite colorless mana, and then we'll play Treasure Vault as land for turn. And off of that absolutely garbage-looking all-lands hand, there's a completely dominant turn 3 win. The Sultan hand is such a trap, but a trap that I love. This is not a hand that is safe to keep at all. You are begging for another land drop, and you're begging to get lucky, but we try. We still try it. Mox Amber's an incredible grab here if we top deck another land. Okay, maybe preferably not that land, but I guess that's fine. So we play Kinnan here, and then we just play the Mox Amber and pass. Definitely don't throw up Assault with absolutely nothing to do afterwards. But turn 3, we are feeling good. It feels so much better if we have Glenn Under down. We have 6 mana. Do we take a turn off? We have Fierce Guardianship. I think you just rely on the Fierce here. So yeah, you just tap for 3. Play Basalt. Probably have to Fierce it, and then I mean from that position you get multiple options, which is super nice. Sadly, you only get to do one of them because you know you pretty much have to say what's more likely to get countered, Finale or Tezzeret, and the answer is always Finale. So you're going to just play the Tezzeret here. I guess the other option is do they have Opposition Agent? If you're worried for any reason about Opposition Agent, then neither works, so it doesn't really matter. So I still go Tezzeret here, and just get Treasure Vault and easy peasy win. Turn 3. A lot of these mana hands, but this one's not good consistent mana. Lotus Petal and Grimmar are the one shots. Okay. Assuming we're not on the play, this is actually a very reasonable hand because of the ring. So you would Gemstone Caverns here. I hate pitching a land of gemstones because I feel like I always just never hit my last land drop. So it really depends on the matchup again. If you are against any turbo variants, the Mindbreak Trap is pretty important. If you are not against turbo variants and you think it's a slower game, then I actually would really prefer to have the Spellskite. I know you can pitch a land and hope to draw on more. This hand really wants to play the ring, and the way this goes is turn 1 you would end up doing this and this, and then turn 2 if you have this to play Kinnan, you actually still don't get to the ring. Maybe this is just worse than I thought. Maybe we need the Mindbreak Trap. So yeah, maybe you pitch a land of the Glittering Caves of Algernon. Unless... because if that's turn 2, then yeah, you just don't play Kinnan, you just play the ring. Yeah, okay. We're going to imagine not against the turbo deck. We're going to pitch the Mindbreak Trap, draw for turn. Okay, that changes things a little bit. Polluted Delta first, crack it, do Library, Tropical Island. And then you get to go Dork Dork, so this hand became disgusting. Thank you, Magic the Gathering. Turn 2, Chromox, we do not care about at all. Crack this for Breeding Pool. Boop. So you get Kinnan. Tap for 4, play the One Ring. Tap the One Ring, draw a card. March of Swirling Mist is such a sweet grab here if we had a blue card in hand. Though I guess, honestly, Chrome Mox, pitch the March. Play Spellskite, protect what we got going on. That's our turn 2. Untap on turn 3, tap the ring on upkeep, so we're going to just draw 1 extra card here. And then we have our normal draw step. You do that in case you hit a Worldly Tutor or Mystical Tutor, because then you can use them right away, and either one is going to be really, really nice here with what we have set up. So then we draw a card for turn. Love to see a Karn. God, I love Karn. So you play Lotus Petal here, and you already have the ring as a draw engine, so I think I throw out, how much mana do we have? So that's 4, 6, 9 of consistent mana, 11 if you include that. I still think the Ristic is totally worth playing. I think we forego spins for another turn. We're really just focused on the card advantage at this point. So you can just go 3 mana for a Ristic Study, and then 4 mana for Karn the Great Creator, and that does hold up 4 mana for interaction that you can hopefully draw. So if you draw like a couple cards from Ristic in the cycle, you get a Resculpt if you need it. It can be really nice. Love Resculpts, being able to hit artifacts, so good. And yeah, protection for Kinnan is just bonkers. So then you get to untap on your turn 3 here, tap the ring on your upkeep, so you're going to draw 2 additional there before your actual draw step. And now you're feeling really good. So now you draw for turn. Only thing you're missing at this point is just protection. You really, really just want protection, which you don't quite have. So I don't think it's correct to all out go for it. Most likely, I mean, we're on turn 4. We've been having all the card advantage. People are going to be understanding that you're the threat, and people aren't going to want to have other opponents waste interaction on themselves. They're going to be really focused on trying to convince people to save their interaction for you. So it's unlikely you get through the Moon Silver line on the Basalt here. If we draw on counter spells, we go for it, but we just didn't. So it's interesting. We have 6, 8, we have 12 mana here. I mean, they're going to counter a Worldly Tutor almost no matter what. You really aren't in a position to go for much. You're really just in a position to pass and keep waiting, which is shitty to an extent. Definitely is shitty. What we can do, yeah, I think we just wait, and then we can do spins on end steps. You probably draw a couple cards from Ristic in the cycle. Hitting the Thrasios feels super nice here. Makes the combo with Basalt a lot easier if we can find some protection for it. Totally throw out 1 Kinnan spin though on end step. Sadly, don't hit anything. So then you're just gonna untap here, tap the ring on upkeep, of course. And I think we still do it this way. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I mean, hitting Treasure Vault just makes it even easier. And now I am going to Worldly Tutor on upkeep, and that is almost bound to eat a counterspell. If it didn't eat a counterspell, I think I grabbed Kalenalendra. But then from this position, I mean, at this point, we've drawn enough cards that I think you just start going for things, and if it gets through, it gets through. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You're also going to draw more cards as people fight for stuff. Sadly, we just didn't hit Counter Magic this game, which feels bad. You can just like flash in a Hullbreaker and go for just trying to play more tempo, but I think I start going for it here a little bit. Moonsilver is the real piece. We just need to get Basalt, and then, I mean, once we have Basalt, we are currently representing 3 ways to win the game with Basalt. So hopefully we're able to push through the interaction. This hand is bad. It's like better than it looks because of what it is, but not having a creature on turn 1 so Cradle's not on means like you kind of rely on some stuff you don't want to rely on there. Go to second 7. Chrome Mox is always good. His hand doesn't have interaction. Doesn't play Manglehorn turn 1. Turn 2 is not bad. Like, turn 2 Manglehorn is not a bad thing. If you're against, like, I guess if you're on the play against Turbo, there's like a world that I would consider this, because Manglehorn does just kind of, it buys you at least a turn, and buying at least a turn can be really, really important. So if you're against Dihada or Rogsai, stuff that's going to have to play out their artifacts to win the game, you know, even like Rocco Naya combo, Manglehorn's nice, but this hand just doesn't back it up really well to start pushing ahead. You're unlikely to get what you need. Like, Springleaf is a really good draw there, actually, but, you know, most likely this hand is not enough of what we want. This hand, a little better. Counters, interaction, ramp. What more can you ask for? Draw for turn. Love Seagate. Finhorn Elf, Finhorn Elfin. And Mox Diamond, of course. Yeah, you might as well hold up that Swan Song turn 1. No reason not to. So you draw Chrome Mox for turn 2. You are just going to, I think, play the Seagate as the land here. And then play Kinnan. And then you're holding up 4 mana. I don't think you need to Chrome Mox anything right now. You're just holding up 2 counter spells and board protection, and hopefully not dying on turn 2. Untap. Mox Amber is great as always. This is a straight main phase spin moment right here. Just hoping for the best. And sadly, it's a whiff. Pretty painful one. You would really love to hit something of value there, but that's fine. You're still holding up 2 counter spells. I mean, likelihood is you need to use at least 1 in this cycle, so you do that. And then you untap for turn. Overloaded Cycrypt is not a bad thing to hold up. And that does put you in a position now where you are not going to spin on main phase. You're going to pass the turn. You're going to hold up your Fierce and your Cycrypt. If you have to Cycrypt, you have to Cycrypt. If not, you're going to spin on end step before your turn. So you do that here. Gracios is like the worst hit. I would take the Armored Scrap Gorger here. I don't really care about drawing the cards. I just want the mana here to hold up more interaction so I can also spin. So now we draw for turn. Crop Out for Cradle is not the worst thing in the world. It's definitely not, actually. Yeah, you can Crop Rot here, sacrifice this. You tap it for a blue first, obviously. Blue Library. Guys, Cradle. So you have 1 blue, 1 green floating. 5, 7, throw a spin. Just holding up 5 mana, which feels nice. And spins are just not with you this game. And you know what? If the Magic Gods tell you they don't want you to win, they don't want you to win. I don't really want to lose our board, but I would probably be desperate enough in this position with the Fierce up to just Chrome Mox the March of Swirling Mist, and then hold up an additional spin or the Cyclonic Rift. Hopefully you don't just Cyc Rift and you get 1 more spin out of it, but always tap Scrap Gorger last. There's a Nyx Bloom. Not super great. At this point, we've probably already lost this game, so it doesn't really matter. But untap, you would Fimage the Nyx Bloom here for sure. I would just tap Mox Amber. I would Fimage the Nyx Bloom, so all my stuff taps for 9 times as much. I have 5 creatures, so this taps for 45 mana. So you'd probably win this turn or be in a position that you couldn't lose, but unlikely you actually get there that game. No lands, no keep. No lands, no keep. This is a nice controlling 6 that doesn't let other people win, but doesn't let you win either. So we're on a very disappointing 5 here, and it's a second game in a row where I think we can just assume our deck has failed us. So we're going to go back to a new game. First 7. Let's try and give a scenario this time. let's say you are in second seat, you have Rogsai on the play, you have you in second, you have Najila in third, and you have Tivit in fourth. So you have all decks that should contain counter magic, but realistically you have the turbo deck on the play up front. That is priority number one. You would love to have some interaction for it. You also have in the back of your mind the hope that the other decks are also going to be mulliganing for interaction. I mean, Tivit definitely plays the largest interaction package. Being in fourth seat, you got to wonder if they're going to try and go for a hand that can push out mana, or if they're really going to care about policing the table. Depends on the pilot, depends on what hands they draw. So first 7 here, annoyingly, is this like really gross mana hand, but just no lands. If we draw a land on this one, which we would have, it has potential. It has annoying potential here, but it doesn't hold up any interaction for Rogsai, so there's no world I would have actually taken that risk. Second 7, Swan Song, Felwar, holds up 2 pieces of interaction. This is not a great hand, but it's a hand I think I keep here on second 7. You get a free interaction spell on their turn 1. You get to play the Felwar to hold up the Swan Song on turn 2. I think that is kind of good enough here to be what we're looking for. So I draw a card for turn, Flooded Strand, crack it for Tropical Island, and we are sadly just passing. Probably have to mental misstep a tutor at some point in the cycle. Go to turn 2, we're going to play this Seagate, turn it over. We're going to tap that for some Felwar Stone, and we are definitely holding up this Swan Song. Hopefully we survive until our turn 3. Play Beseju, feels bad. Tap for 2 here, play a Kinnan, and now you are holding up March, Swan Song, and Resculpt. Just kind of all of them in a mix. Hopefully that survives until your turn 4. Against this matchup, I mean, there's Tivit and Najila. You're the first priority after Rogsai, so you can kind of pass it, priority bully a little bit. Hopefully they can deal with some stuff. You get to your turn 4 without having to use anything else. Lotus Petal is really good here. You can go for a couple lines. I mean, right now you have exactly 7 mana. So you could go for a Seedborn Muse, which is the best thing you could be doing, but actually not, because you'd only have 5 consistent mana. So Seedborn here isn't as great as it might look. You could go for Wandering Archaic. In this matchup is pretty bonkers, but I don't think that's better either. I think the smartest move is probably to spend 5 mana, and you play out a Perplexing Chimera here. I would defend it with a Swan Song if I had to. It depends. Everyone's going to kind of hate this card. Everyone's going to say, oh, you're the problem now, when like you're obviously not the problem right now. But people always act like you're the problem when you have Chimera, but really you're playing Chimera to slow down the game, to buy you time to become the problem later, because they're the problem right now. But sadly, the likelihood is you would have to blow a Swan Song on this, and then you are tapped out besides Chimera, but hopefully Chimera buys you a turn cycle. And the Moonsilver Key feels pretty good. Really wish we had just a bit more mana. I think I would play out the Moonsilver Key, but not crack it. I think I would just play it out, and I would hold up Resculpted March here. I'm not going to Finale. We're just going to show the ability to get Basalt. People are going to say, oh my god, he's going to get Basalt. But like, it's turn 5 against this matchup. Like, I don't think we look the scariest. So hopefully we're able to use enough interaction. Maybe we have to Resculpt a Najila, something of the sort. You know, anything like that. And then if we actually make it back to our turn here, now what we can do is crack the Moonsilver Key, go get Basalt Monolith. We're going to tap this and use this one. We're going to play Basalt, and if that actually lands, then we get to exile the Elvish Spirit Guide, Finale Devastation, to go get Thrasios and win the game, assuming that interaction's been used. There's a world that this works. This definitely could be a realistic situation that happens. That was not the best hand, but it had the interaction to stop the deck on the play, and it did have enough ramp to at least give you some sort of a game plan. Not an ideal keep, but one that's acceptable. Giving another scenario, let's imagine that we're in 4th seat. I'm going to not imagine this hand was one of the room walls. Let's imagine you're in 4th seat. You have something like some type of Naya deck on the play. Let's say Shalai and Halar. Let's say you've got Shalai and Halar in the play. Kind of that mid-range that can really actually win the game quite quickly and does throw out some stacks effects that affect you. Let's say you've got Tayum in seat 2, so you really are looking at a heavy stacks matchup here. And then you've got another mid-rangey deck, say a Traxa in seat 3 and you're in seat 4. Immediate thoughts there is this game is not not ending in the first couple turns. This is a matchup that you can definitely not worry about having the early interaction for. Against Tyam, my normal plan is to mull for Gilded Drake. Against Shalai and Halar as well, though, I think that there's real value in having creature removal. Not just for getting rid of commanders, but also to get rid of like an oof if you need to. It just depends on what hand you have, if it can get around an oof here. So let's go first 7 in that matchup. Whew, wish we had mana to play the Rhystic. That would be so good. Second 7. Okay, we do technically have a turn 1 Kinnan, but we have no ramp. Going to 6. We're getting to treacherous territory here. This is a hand that against this matchup, we can get rid of stacks pieces, and this hand just wins. This hand really just wins. I think I would annoyingly keep this. I'm not sure I would be the happiest camper about it, but I think it is worth keeping. And knowing every deck is on white, I'm actually going to take the turn 1 Kinnan here. Do we ditch the Mirage Mirror? I don't think we want to ditch the Tezzeret. I don't think we want to ditch the Transmute. Maybe it's the Tezzeret. You definitely want the Boseiju for turn 1 Kinnan, and I think you really want protection. But this hand being just a hand that wins, I guess the only other blue deck at the table is Atraxa, so you're going to be able to probably fight through the counters here. I think it is better to toss the Tezzeret to the Glittering Caves. That's a very tough one. I'm not sure what is 100% correct there, but I think that's the way I want to go. In 4th seat, they do their normal stuff. Hopefully you just get to go to turn 1 Kinnan here and not worry about Drain of the Magistrate. And again, this game's not ending in the first couple turns, so you can buy a little bit of time. Super happy to hit a land there. That's exactly what you want to see. Tap 2 mana, play your Talisman of Curiosity, just pass the turn. Get to turn 3, especially if Atraxa is tapped out here, I 100% go for this. Atraxa's tapped out, I just transmute Artifact, get rid of this shit, pay 1 more to turn into Basalt, have Mirage Mirror, I have the gems. Oh, okay. A little awkward because I guess you can always use other people's mana. Your dual color costs life, so I guess also if Atraxa just has a blue land, you can swap between. Well, actually, no, because the second you turn into a Boseiju, it sacks one of them. So, okay, if someone has an Arcane Signet, if someone has any other blue or green land, you can just swap between those. Otherwise, this will cost you life. You're probably at a really high life total right now, so, I mean, just getting, 15 each of blue and green will probably get you to a game win here. I wouldn't be super worried about it. You're probably going to be fine. Worst case, also, you have the Phyrexian Metamorph to copy someone else's rock. So I'd feel pretty comfortable here about this being a win on turn 3, which I think in 4th seat in that kind of stacksy matchup where the game is expected going long, sneaking in a quicker win like this, especially when there's only one other blue deck, yes, you can get blown out by a red blast out of Shalai and Halar or something there, but I feel good about that win getting through and being good. Let's just do one more here. Let's imagine we're in 3rd seat. You have, let's say, Atraxa on the play, mid-range deck again. You have something a little faster, maybe Mardu, maybe Dihada or Timna Jessica. Let's go with Dihada in 2nd seat. You're in 3rd seat. And then 4th seat, some kind of a wild card here. Let's go with Timna Thrasios, where you don't know if it's going to be a Protean Hulk line or a Hermit Druid line or whatever. So you got a pretty mostly mid-range pod. You have the potential turbo out of the Timna Thrasios if they're on Hermit Druid lines. And you have the fastest deck at the table, Mardu, in seat 2. So those are your considerations. So let's do a first 7 look at that here. Ignore this one. First 7 doesn't do anything. Love Manglehorn against Dihada. It is, so good. So good against Dihada. Same with Karn. If this hand had ramp, this is bonkers, but it doesn't. Second 7, we cannot draw lands to save our fucking life. We're going to 6. This is a pretty slow all-mana hand, but seeing the Karn makes me at least consider it, and being against what is likely multiple other mid-range matchups, this might be one where you're on 6 and you're just going to trust in your opponents to deal with each other and get rid of this crop rotation. I think that's what I'd probably do. Draw for turn, Misty, crack it for a chop. Close and shuffle, play a land anywhere else, and just pass. Hope to draw land. Are we punished? Sort of not punished, I guess. The problem is, I really don't want to lose this green sun zenith. You really want that to become a Seedborn Muse. And you might need the Pongify for Atraxa or other things. It is close. I think you toss the Pongify here. Toss the Pongify. You can tap 2 for Kinnan. Then you tap 2. This is blue, so you can cast a couple of your artifacts. Someone else has probably played a Soul Ring or a Talisman or something. And then I think you just tap that for Bloom Tender. And that's a totally reasonable turn 2. So you get to go into turn 3 here. Hopefully we've not lost to Dihada is kind of the risk here. Being after them on turn 3. Always a little sketchy. Wandering Archaic is fantastic in a mid-range matchup. Helps you value out. But the main priority right now, right now on mana-wise, if we're assuming this was something with colored mana for Bloom Tender, this is 3, 5, 7, 9, 10. You have exactly 10 mana. I think I throw out a Karn the Great Creator. And if Karn the Great Creator sticks, where the assumption is Dihada's already tried something, and I don't think the other decks would want Karn here. They also are going to play a good amount of artifacts. I think if this gets through, where I would do it that way, then I would feel comfortable enough to try the 6 mana for the Green Sun Zenith. It's a little bit greedy, maybe a lot greedy, but there's a world where, depending on what interaction has been used, I go for that. If you want to be a little safer and you think, okay, they'll let the Karn through because they're worried about Dihada, I should probably just keep valuing. You can just tap for 5. Just play Wandering Archaic. Keep the value train going. No need to push your luck yet. The high upside play is always good to do, but not being greedy will definitely lead to more overall success. But it's very contextual. Obviously, getting a Seedborn here feels a lot better. Let's say we did that for the sake of fun for the last one, and it gets through. Close and shuffle. Now we get to untap. We're at that same 10 mana spot. So we can just go 3, 5, 7. Karn is going to slow down the game, make people's life hard. Thorn Mammoth in this mid-range matchup, now that Dihada has probably been dealt with, is fantastic to see here. Start taking out the Mana Dorks out of Atraxa and Timna Thrasios. That is a perfect hit. Second opponent's turn. Ooh. Hit a Tidespout Tyrant, and you are officially the threat. Even though you don't have the rocks to properly be the threat, you are now the threat in the eyes of everyone, which can be a little annoying, but it's fine. If someone has removal for this, it goes away, which pretty likely that they would do that. Though actually, they would have removed the Seedborn. So for at this point, they can't remove this. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That one's going to be a whiff. So that's fine. You make it back to your turn, hopefully. You have a Tidespout Tyrant now if you draw the right thing. Their mana shut off. It's hard for them to combo. You just killed a few of their creatures. You can keep doing that more. You untap. You hit a Pact Negation. So that means you're still in wait-and-see mode. You're not going to try and push anything. I 1,000,000% slam a Wandering Archaic here at all costs. Keep beating down Mana Dorks. Keep doing all that good stuff. Tidespout Tyrant trigger. You'll just bounce someone else's permanent or whatever. You're on the tempo game. And then you're going to untap in your opponent's turn. First one. Yeah, let's take that Thrasios. What's really nice about that, let's see, we got 7 here. We're only at 3 additional mana, so we're not at Thrasios activations, but we're at a place with the Pact of Negation where I think we see what our opponent does on the turn. If they try and deal with us, we're going to activate Thrasios. Wood of Foothills, move it to the bottom. We'll take a Treasure Vault into play tapped. That is great. And then, so that cost 8 mana what we just did. So we're out of activations there. So we go to the third opponent's turn now. And, really depends on the situation. We might just draw with Thrasios, which is probably more likely. Oops. This would be on top. We would have moved Springleaf to the bottom if we activate Thrasios. And then this would just come into play tapped. Probably would have tapped this way for that. And then we'll do it again. 4 mana. Moonsilver Key. You would 100% keep here, and then you would just go for a Basalt Line with Pact Negation back up on the following turn. Hope we can get there. If not, no worries. So I think that's going to be all for today. I hope this has been helpful and informative, given some insights into the thinking process. It's so game dependent that goldfishing can be a little bit difficult, but open to any feedback and happy to do more of these in the future. If there's more specific criteria you want me to be mulliganing for or showing in play style, let me know.